Revolutionary greetings, comrades. We continue discussing the program of the Zimbabwe Communist Party. Thank you so much to comrades that are following us on TikTok. We are producing short videos less than 2 minutes, and it appears comrades do appreciate. So I want to thank you for participating. We will continue producing those short videos on TikTok. But of course, these ones on YouTube, they do not take less than 2 minutes. They go to about 15 or 30 minutes, depending on what we are discussing. Because this is targeting members of the Zimbabwe Communist Party, our friends, international friends, and those that want to join the Zimbabwe Communist Party, so that they have an understanding of what we as the Zimbabwe Communist Party stand for. We are discussing the second segment of our program because it is divided into two. The first part speaks or gives a historical background, and then in the last part, which we are in now, will be concluding very soon, it speaks to the plan, what we call the plan for Zimbabwe or our future. One comrade said he did not want to join the Zimbabwe Communist Party because he thinks there's too much history lessons that we are giving in the Zimbabwe Communist Party. But of course, there are some comrades who think like this comrade. It's important for us to know where we come from so that we know where we are going. We always say that our past guides us to the future. We cannot change our past, but we will always define what we want to see in the future. For instance, we're talking here about the planning priorities in the program of the Zimbabwe Communist Party, and we are saying the two most basic economic priorities needed for self-sufficiency and therefore form the base for national sovereignty are food and energy. Every Zimbabwean now is familiar with the term sovereignty, but you cannot be shouting sovereignty when you are carrying the begging bowl for you to be given food aid by others, or you are always in the dark. Industries cannot operate because there is no power. We are always in dark in our homes, or we are going to Stone Age where we need to get paraffin and so forth for us to have access to energy. Water is a major problem in Zimbabwe, as rainfall has declined since independence, while the population has grown. Global warming and climate change are continuing to negatively impact on the existing conditions. The problems of agriculture involve reduced rainfall just as much as chaotic land reform. We dealt with the chaotic land reform in 2000 when we're discussing the land redistribution, and we're saying it was chaotic, but we made the point that the land reform in Zimbabwe was necessary, and it remains necessary up to this day because the majority of the people do not have access to land, and they were seeing now the reverse of that land reform program by the so-called the Second Republic, because the land distribution in 2000 was not planned properly. There was no clear plan on how we needed to distribute land. Hence, people that were only associated associated with the ruling party were given land for political reasons, but they were not empowered. They were not given resources. They were not impacted with the skills for agriculture, so that we continue to produce so that we'll be able to proclaim that yes, indeed, we are sovereign, to an extent that we do not carry a begging bowl to our neighbors and the so-called international community, and also that we should not be called names in neighboring countries, because if we fail to produce, if there's no production in Zimbabwe, there are no secondary industries which in the main employ young people. And we are seeing in the last decade or two that the majority of young people have been leaving Zimbabwe for neighboring countries. And we know the impact it has caused in those countries, particularly in South Africa and Botswana, where the question of migration becomes a topical issue. But we will, at some point, discuss the question of migration within the SADC region. However, the problem of water supply is not only about the building and maintenance of dams, it is also about pumping the water to wherever it is needed. Therefore, electricity supply becomes the most important single factor in infrastructural development and economic recovery. Our comrades in Harare always tell us that they do not have clean water from the tap. In one of our TikTok short video, we spoke about what is happening in Chitungwiza in the build-up to the just ended by-elections. We saw the President Mnangagwa going there, and we were told of a presidential scheme to drill boreholes. And in the TikTok video, we said the people of Chitungwiza or any other part of the country or town or city, they do not want the boreholes to be drilled in their cities or towns. They want water they want to access water from their taps at home. The current coal-fired power stations are performing far below capacity and need refurbishing. Making them more efficient can reduce carbon emissions, and the use of their smoke to produce protein-rich algae, which may be turned into biofuel or cattle feed, can further reduces carbon emissions. This has been done extensively in Brazil. So we invite you, comrades, to do a study on how Brazil has dealt with this question. A gas-fired power station must be built in Lupane using the so far untapped natural gas. The direct use of natural gas for domestic cooking and also for some industrial operations can significantly reduce the demand for electricity. One of the topical issues in the imperialist war that is ongoing in Eastern Europe is access to gas. We know that European countries, even though they are putting sanctions against Russia for its military operation in Ukraine, they depend on Russia and the rest of Eastern Europe for their gas. The building of West-fired power stations as used in Sweden and Austria can not only dispose of domestic waste but can produce electric power with lower rate of carbon emission than coal. Such power stations should be built in Harare and Bulawayo, and the possibility of clearing existing waste dams investigated. Hydroelectric power plants at Victoria Falls and Kariba Dam needs to be upgraded, and you will know that Kariba Dam is in danger of collapse. It has been having cracks, and we are saying in our program that if it were to collapse, it will not only affect Zimbabwe, but will affect Zambia and Mozambique. There have been plans to repair Kariba Dam, but as we know that the Mnangagwa administration is not committed to rebuild infrastructure. Solar power needs to be massively increased, with the factories producing both solar water heating and solar electric panels. In the rural areas, this can be used in conjunction with establishment of wood lots and the use of wood burning stoves to reduce deforestation and the amount of time spent by women on the collection of firewood. Street lighting and traffic lights should be solar powered throughout Zimbabwe, thus reducing the need for mass electricity supply. Solar power should be seen as the main form of electricity generation in the future. What needs to do, which the Zimbabwe Communist Party program speaks to, is that we should take advantage of the sun that we enjoy 3/4 of the year in Zimbabwe, and use the solar panel. Yes, we have seen in the diaspora Zimbabweans buying solar batteries, solar panels, which they use for their boreholes in rural communities, those that are drilling boreholes and are using it for energy in their rural homes. We need this program to be intensified so that the majority of Zimbabweans have access to energy, so that we can ensure that everyone has access to electricity. Let's use solar power as an alternative. And the other thing that which goes with what you are saying is that we need every child or every child or every village to have access to internet. We are moving, as we always discuss, the fourth industrial revolution. We will, of course, discuss what it means from a class perspective, but it is critical that every village have access to internet. We have seen in the global lockdown that kids from rich families will have data to start online, and the kids from poor communities will not have access to online study, and these kids have lost out on education. So it is important that we have access. Every village must have access to solar power as an alternative energy, so that you are able to have internet in almost every home or every school in rural Zimbabwe, so that our kids can have access to online learning. We continue, comrades, discussing the program of the Zimbabwe Communist Party. We are talking to the future. This is what the last part of the program speaks to. Things that needs to be done for us to rebuild the Zimbabwean economy. As you know, or as you remember, that we targeted our program completing the liberation of Zimbabwe. So we went to war so that the economy will be transferred to the majority of the people, so that we'll enjoy a good life. So let us continue to engage. Let us hear your views on what you say, or if you have questions of clarity, please write your questions of clarity. Myself and other comrades, we will try our level best to assist. Otherwise, amandla, comrades.